Ken Levine blessed these United States, except for Maine, New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Kansas, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, California, Nevada, and most importantly, Oregon. May Ken protect our right to shoot each other and ourselves, while indulging in the fast food chain of our choosing, and may he strike down whoever tries to stop us, and may they go to Europe and be forced to watch shitty art house films until hell freezes over. Now that that's out of the way, Bioshock is a series about if humans lived in one of those fish tank decors, had no access to sunlight for years, and where gene-altering sea slug crack cocaine was legal. This concept was explored in 2 games, so it was about time for something new. And then the developers came up with the American revolutionary idea of, what if the city wasn't underwater? What if it was in the sky? What if these motherfuckers had access to sunlight? This idea sprouted infinite possibilities, and out of it came Bioshock Infinite, with Ken Levine back at it again. Your adventure starts outside of the coast of the fictional state of Maine, created by Stephen King to host his numerous stories, and you take upon the role of the worst white boy the US has spawned to date, Booker DeWitt, who has been tasked with finding and retrieving a mysterious girl. He's being taken to a lighthouse by 2 gingers, possibly to leave him to die. With nothing else to do, Booker explores the lighthouse, taking in the sights.
Shit.
Unfortunately, the fat fuck can't walk up a few stairs without getting exhausted, so he takes a seat in a conveniently placed chair at the top of the lighthouse.
So now...
Make yourself ready, Pilgrim. The bindings are there as a safeguard.
This can't be good.
Count to 4.
No.
3, 2, 1.
No!
Ascension. Ascension.
Better just stay calm.
5,000 feet. 10,000 feet. 15,000 feet. Hallelujah.
You have now reached your destination, Colombia, also known as US Number 2, created by the US government as a showcase of American exceptionalism to the rest of the world. In charge of this Hindenburger is the religious leader Zachary Hale Comstock, also known as Father Comstock. Colombia later seized from the US. Why, you ask? Because the freedom to be as racist as they wish and purge as many minorities as they like was being restricted. Just kidding, this is the US we're talking about. Actually, it's because Colombia decided to help out its fellow Americans in the Boxer Rebellion by drone striking the Chinese. Now I know what you're thinking, what's wrong with that? But please keep in mind that this was pre-Obama, so drone striking hadn't caught on yet. This was the first time Colombia had showed that it wasn't just a pretty showcase of everything great about America, but also a deadly weapon. And because of this, the US recalled the city, but Colombia refused, and opted for independence, disappearing into the clouds, to create an America that better reflects the ideals and wishes of the founding fathers, according to them. Now without Colombia, the US realized they needed a new way of showcasing American exceptionalism, so they started invading other countries. Booker drops off into a place of worship, where the floor is covered in water, and he therefore gets the full wet socks experience. He also gets a first-hand look at Colombia's religious beliefs. They're Christian, but they seem to be more enamored with this Comstock fellow and his child, rather than God and Jesus Christ. Surely he must be amazing since they choose not to bully him to death because of his name. Booker continues on, his socks getting wetter by the step. Thankfully, he finds a man of God, but before he gets a word in, the priest gets the right idea and baptizes him. One weird ass vision later.
Mr. DeWitt!
And Booker comes to his senses, only to be instantly drawn by American patriotism. Turns out, Colombia takes their history very seriously, so much so that they have several scantily clad founding fathers hanging around. wouldn't be surprised to see any Colombian citizens sporting the George Washington. Rapture was beautiful, but Colombia is truly stunning, and in this opening sequence the game truly lets you soak it all in and see the best side of Colombia. And just having sunlight and a blue sky is a game changer. Instead of the classic Art Deco of the previous two, Colombia is made up of neoclassical and Art Nouveau. And like Rapture imitated the 1950s, Colombia imitates the 1900s. And presents this in the architecture, clothes and posters around the city, just like Rapture did with its time period. And both cities are a love letter to the respective times and styles. Colombia also feels more open and warm due to the lighting and open sky, unlike Rapture, which was closed in and cold due to its darkness and dark color palette. The city's style also makes everything feel lighter, if that makes sense. Like you really are in a flying city. Bright colors and even brighter faces. You're presented the city at its finest, and feel a sense of true calm when walking about, in contrast with Rapture, where you were always on alert for enemies. Today marks the anniversary that Colombia seceded from the US, and this allows the game to give the player a quick rundown of some of the city's history and beliefs. Everywhere you go, people are happy and content, but despite this, something is lurking underneath, not the least of which is the character models. Bioshock 1 and 2 were mostly comprised of splicers, and seeing a normal person was a rarity, but they looked good and normal. But that might also be because of the dimmed lights in Rapture, because in Colombia some of the NPCs look truly eerie, especially some of the female models. Look into those eyes and tell me you don't see the weeping face of God. And a lot of the models appear again and again. Making a return is the audio diaries, or voxophones as they're called in Colombia.
Say something, sonny.
What's a voxophone? What's a voxophone?
Exactly that.
And a new lore-obtaining device is the this, which showcases silent propaganda movies, and like the rest of the game's style, is executed perfectly. My only complaint is that unlike the voxophone, these put a slight halt to the gameplay and action, but are nevertheless just as interesting.
Yeah, that's where they said I'd find her.
Telegram, Mr. DeWitt.
Huh.
Telegram for you, sir.
DeWitt, stop. Do not alert Comstock to your presence. Stop. Whatever you do, do not pick number 77. Stop. Lutess.
You advance further at the pace of a tourist in Europe, and happen upon some true pleasures, such as live music, which begs you to slow down for a moment to take it all in. A showcase of vigors, and a bunch of minigames that introduces the player to the main game mechanics, such as pressing left mouse button, but also right mouse button. And these games warms the player up to the game and provide a chance to earn some cash. This whole area showcases things to come, so the player can have some Leonardo DiCaprio moments later on. It's also in this area you get your hands on your first vigor.
Will.
Give me one of those.
With just a whisper, they're all ears.
Press to turn machines into allies.
As you can see, hacking has been completely removed and instead been replaced with the vigor called possession. And frankly, despite our rough patches, I miss hacking, my old ball and chain. And not only that, it's not Eve that replenishes your mana anymore, now it's called salts. To add further salt to the injury, the game immediately reintroduces the gingers from the start.
Heads.
Or tails.
Come on, let me through.
Heads?
Or tails.
Tails.
Told you. I never find that as satisfying as I'd imagined.
Chin up, there's always next time.
I suppose there is.
Strange, huh? Sure hope they don't play a major role in the game, ha 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 ha. Booker refrains from committing a hate crime, gaining the player's admiration, until he decides to open his mouth again, which is another new Ken Levine innovation, and it's none other than Mr. Troy Baker himself providing the voice, who you might know from 90% of the games released today, and this really makes you appreciate the previous protagonists and their silence. Both were himbos, but they meant well and were likable. But give a himbo a voice and they're no longer a himbo, but some guy you knew in high school who won't shut the fuck up after accidentally bumping into you in the supermarket, refusing to let you go back to sneaking toilet paper into your hoodie. Anyways, turns out those gingers have a magical statue of sorts. Sure, there's nothing to it. Oh look, a poster.
What the?
Looks like trouble. Surely Booker will cover up his hand, ahaha, surely. Anyway, there's more music to enjoy.
And now, the 1912 raffle has officially begun!
Mister!
Booker wants to take part in the raffle and awaits the result.
77.
Bring me the bowl! Is that not the prettiest young white girl in all of Colombia?
Really? Because I swear I just saw a couple of her a couple minutes ago.
The winner is number 77!
Oh, what do you know?
Over here, he's the winner!
Number 77, come and claim your prize! First throw!
And here we have it, the biggest addition to the Bioshock series to date, racism. Turns out, that was what was lurking underneath the whole time. When Columbia said they wanted the city to be the ideal America, this is what they meant. And they created a white supremacist society, discriminating against any people of color, including African Americans, Asians, Native Americans, and of course, the Irish. And Bioshock Infinite racial slurs explores this theme throughout the entire game, Columbia becoming more blunt about it the further you advance. You are presented with the game's first choice, be racist or not. But don't worry, the choices in Infinite are pointless. More on this later.
Why don't you give her a throw?
I'm not throwing it.
Wait!
It's him!
Now, where'd you get that brand, boy? Don't you know that makes you the backstabbing snake in the grass false shepherd?
Why didn't you cover your fucking hand, you dumb fuck? One OSHA violation later. And now you're fighting. And yet again, the wrench has been cast aside in favor of a new weapon, the Skyhook. And it's the least satisfying melee weapon of the whole series. It just doesn't give the mwah when you hit someone with it. And though it has some unique finishing animations, even those are kind of tame compared to the timeless satisfaction of whacking splicers or drilling them. But do not worry, for this does not apply to the game's firearms, that are still oh so satisfying, maybe even more so. But like with everything in life, nothing can be perfect. You see, despite being named Bioshock Infinite, it decides to limit the player to only 2 weapon slots. And here I thought Columbia was a free city. And I'm still not sure how to feel about this. On one hand, this forces the player to really consider their playstyle, but it also really limits the player's playstyle, and ends up making the player prioritize only 2, maybe 3 weapons throughout the whole game, ignoring the others in the process, especially as you start upgrading the 2 weapons you choose. For the longest time I ended up just sticking to the shotgun and the carbine. What's not limited are the vigors. You're still allowed to have as many of those as you want. And a new enemy type appears, the fireman, who you defeat of course.
Let's kiss. Well, you only live once.
As you can see, the possession vigor is not the only one with its own animation. Every single vigor gets its very own animation, and like the other Bioshocks, also get their own mini-movies, again, done in the style of the time period. The rest of the level is made up of fighting enemies, taking in the sights, and exploring. Hell, you even happen upon QAnon headquarters with the most out there statue you've ever seen. And that's not even mentioning the interior. Bioshock Infinite taught me more about the American Civil War than school ever did. You and Booker continue on your killing spree, which at this point amounts to the same casualties of the Civil War, until you happen upon your first skylines, which are in essence rollercoaster simulators, a means of transportation around the city. You take a ride, not knowing you're headed straight to your very first encounter with the game's main villain, Comstock.
Down! Stand down!
Whoops. Didn't know this was on. Fuck. It's popping. Oh.
It's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you. Okay, I'm sure I can get this thing going.
The Lord forgives everything. But I'm just a prophet. So I don't have to. Amen.
Amen.
Jesus! Hell out of here! Holy shit! That was close.
You escape and get to Monument Island, the place you'll find the mysterious girl. Walking around, you find out they've been doing various experiments on her, watching and observing her, and soon you get your very first glimpse of her.
That's her.
Apparently it's this Katy Perry looking ass named Elizabeth that Booker has been sent to retrieve. But not only that, this white girl is a bit more quirky than the others. And has never been outside of a huge, very impressive prison, which explains her quirkiness to the player, as that is how the quirkiest of girls are made in real life.
Holy shit. Hello. Stop it! Will you stop it? Not here to hurt you.
Speak English, bitch.
Are you real?
The realest in the game.
He's coming. You've gotta go.
Apparently she has a very protective roommate, and unfortunately jumping out the window is not an option in this case, so you manifest destiny a way out of there. Luckily, Booker pre-ordered Bioshock Infinite on Steam and got the exclusive "Get the fuck out of here" key.
Are you... Give it to me. What is all this? They were watching me? All this time? Why? Why did they put me in here? What am I? What am I?
You're the girl who...
This is Songbird, and is Columbia's version of the Big Daddy, and a very good boy. He's also fueled by pure hatred and rage, so you and New Girl get your white asses out of there and run to the top of the statue. Not gonna lie, this cutscene is still the tightest shit ever. This is the end of the game as Booker fucking drowns. No wait, I forgot the rest of the game. Anyway, Hooker the Prick has another vision, this time starring Miss Columbia herself. Fucking creep. Unfortunately he wakes up again, thanks to Catherine Elizabeth Hudson, who immediately leaves in again to fuck up the dance floor. One 9/11 reference later, and you, Booker and Elizabeth, are off to a grand adventure to, you guessed it, get out of Colombia and find out how Elizabeth got so quirky.
Come on! Are you gonna throw it? Or are you taking your coffee black these days?